Hello my friends, welcome back. How long has it been since you last smiled with true happiness? Let me share a few stories with you today. A young delivery boy was riding his electric bike when he accidentally collided with an old man on a motorbike. Bottles of beer on the boy's bike fell and broke, more than half of them shattered. But instead of arguing or blaming each other, the two simply picked up the bottles that were still intact, sat down together, and shared a drink. Then, there was a couple who got into a car accident. The wife was driving and crashed into a fire hydrant. The car was badly damaged, and both suffered minor injuries. Normally, the husband would have scolded her for poor driving. But after making sure they were both fine, they smiled, and even took a photo to remember that day. And once, a truck driver carrying a load of watermelons lost control on a slippery road. The truck flipped over, and all the melons were smashed. Anyone passing by would have felt sorry for him. But instead of getting angry or crying over the loss, he sat down on the roadside and calmly ate one of the broken melons. These stories all share one truth. People with a good mindset often have three qualities in common. First, they rarely complain when problems arise. They focus on solutions rather than frustration. Optimism and positive thinking help transform any situation for the better. Complaining or arguing never changes the past. So, instead of holding on to negative emotions, they enjoy the moment as it is. Second, they don't get caught up in comparisons or resentment. No matter how big a problem seems, it's never greater than life itself. Most of the things we worry about are small and meaningless. Letting them go allows us to live happier and more fully each day. Third, they are not easily angered. Life won't always go our way, that's inevitable. There's an old saying, not everything will happen as you wish, but as long as your conscience is clear, that's enough. A peaceful mind is the best medicine for a difficult life. When your attitude is right, everything flows smoothly. There was once an old man who loved collecting antiques. One day, he bought an expensive porcelain vase and placed it carefully on the back of his bicycle. As he was riding home, the vase fell off and shattered into pieces. A passerby called out, "Sir, your vase is broken." The old man replied calmly, "I know." The man asked, "Then why don't you turn back to look at it?" The old man smiled and said, "Even if I turn back, it's already broken." When facing irreversible loss, some people suffer endlessly. But pain cannot rewind time, nor can it heal the wound. We must learn to accept and let go. A camel once stepped on a piece of broken glass in the desert. Angry, it kicked the glass, but the sharp edge cut its leg deeply. Blood dripped along the path, attracting vultures. Exhausted, the camel finally found shelter, only to realize it was a nest of flesh-eating ants. Before it died, the camel regretted and thought, "Why did I have to fight that piece of glass?" In life, if someone constantly brings you pain, disrespects you, and drains your energy, ask yourself, why are you still holding on to them? A Zen master once asked his disciple, if someone is boiling a pot of water and realizes halfway that there's not enough firewood, what should they do? The disciple answered, "Go get more wood." The master smiled and said, "Why not just pour out some water instead?" The disciple immediately understood. Everything in life is impermanent. To gain something new, you must first let something go. Our time and energy are limited. Learn to pour out some water. Focus only on the people and things that truly matter. If a dog wants to eat filth, don't try to stop it. It will think you're fighting for it and might even bite you. The same goes for bad people or toxic situations. The best response is not to engage. When the time comes to let go, do it decisively, without hesitation. Even if it's a friend, a lover, or a spouse, don't think you can't live without them. In truth, on this long journey of life, everything changes when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start realizing, "What is this teaching me?" That's when you find peace, and happiness finds you. When you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" you'll notice that every experience in life begins to change. One day, a driver stopped his car at a crosswalk to let a pedestrian pass. The driver behind him grew impatient and honked the horn nonstop. Moments later, that angry driver sped ahead, shouting insults through the window. But instead of reacting with anger, the first driver simply smiled and waved. The passenger sitting next to him was confused. He asked, "Why did you just smile? He almost caused an accident." The driver replied calmly, "Many people are like garbage trucks. They carry a lot of emotional trash inside: anger, frustration, negativity, and they go around looking for a place to dump it. Sometimes, we happen to be in their way, but we don't have to take their garbage. Just smile, wave, and wish them well, then move on with your journey. Don't waste your time and energy on such moments. Remember, life is 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you choose to respond to it. There was once a middle-aged man who worked tirelessly every day to make money. He earned a decent income, but somehow he still felt unhappy. So, he went to seek advice from a wise monk. When he arrived, he saw the monk carrying buckets of water from a valley, but only half full. Curious, he asked, "With your strength, carrying 2 full buckets shouldn't be hard. Why only half?" The monk smiled and said, "When the buckets are too full, the person carrying them becomes tired." The man frowned and said, "But isn't it true that you must endure hardship to succeed? That doing more brings greater rewards?" The monk said nothing. He filled both buckets to the top and asked the man to carry them up the mountain. At first, the man walked steadily, but soon he grew tired. The water began spilling out. By the time he reached the top, the 2 buckets were only 2/3 full. The monk laughed softly and said, "Carrying water isn't about filling it to the top. It's about carrying just enough." The man was enlightened and asked, "Then how do I know what enough means?" The monk pointed to a mark on the bucket and said, "Right here, that's enough for one day." The man thought deeply and suddenly understood. He remembered an old saying: "A heart that doesn't know contentment will always suffer." In life, whatever is enough is best. Don't be greedy. Don't exhaust yourself trying to have it all. When you have no house, having a small home feels like happiness. When you have no money, earning money feels like happiness. When you're apart, meeting again feels like happiness. When you're ill, health feels like happiness. But tell me, what is truly the best thing in life? The poor say, having money is happiness. The blind say, being able to see is happiness. The beggar says, having food to eat is happiness. Yet, when we finally have those things, are we truly happy? Not always. Because happiness isn't found in possessions. It's a state of mind, a quiet knowing that what you have is already enough. Remember this: life doesn't exist somewhere else. It's happening right here, right now. This thought alone is worth contemplating. Happiness is not about chasing new things. It's about continuing to love and appreciate the things you already have. The truth is, most of us already have more than enough. But because we keep looking at what we don't have, we forget to feel grateful for what's already here. At Harvard University, in one of the most famous courses on positive psychology, researchers found that the happiest experiences in life come when we're fully present, completely absorbed in what we're doing, forgetting time, forgetting ourselves. That is when joy naturally appears. So, the next time life feels heavy, ask not, "Why me?" but "What can this teach me?" And maybe, just maybe, you'll find that you already have everything you need to be happy right here and right now. Have you ever noticed that the moments when we're most alive often come when we lose ourselves completely in something we love, playing basketball, singing, dancing, or working with full focus until we forget time and even ourselves? That's pure joy. But the moment we're distracted or interrupted, that joy instantly disappears. Think of a mother caring for her child. She feels deep happiness in that simple act. But if, at the same time, she has to handle work emails or phone calls, that same moment with her child can turn into stress and frustration. It's like listening to 2 beautiful songs played at once, each lovely on its own, but together, just noise. When we were children, life wasn't filled with distractions. We could spend hours watching ants move their home, completely fascinated, forgetting to eat or drink. Even some of the world's most successful people, like Le Phuc Vu, the chairman of Hoa Sen Group, or Dong Le Nguyen Vu, the founder of Trung Nguyen Coffee, left behind their wealth to retreat into the mountains and seek a simpler, more focused life. What they were really searching for was the kind of pure joy that comes from stillness and spiritual clarity. But for most adults today, the mind is cluttered. We're constantly filled with worries, choices, responsibilities, and thoughts. That's why anxiety and depression have become so common. We need to clear out our mental space to let go of unnecessary choices and pointless worries and to focus on what we already have. Ask yourself this: if you lost the ability to walk tomorrow, would you regret not cherishing it today? Then why not feel grateful for it now while you still can? You might say, but I don't have a Mercedes. So what? It doesn't matter. You can have dreams, maybe to own a BMW, a Mercedes, a big house, or to travel the world, and that's fine. But don't let those desires torment you. Having ambition is good. But suffering because you haven't achieved something yet, that's foolish. Happiness isn't about getting everything you want. It's about enjoying the journey toward it. Most people think happiness comes from having a house, having a car, having money, having power. But true happiness often comes from not having worry, not having illness, not having sorrow. What you have is what others can see. What you don't have, peace of mind, freedom from anxiety, is what truly belongs to you. Let me share a real story. A woman worked at a food processing factory. One evening, after finishing her shift, she went into the cold storage room for a final check. But the heavy door closed behind her, locking her inside. She screamed, banged on the door, no one heard her. Most workers had already gone home. The freezing air slowly drained her strength, and she began to lose hope. 5 hours later, just as she was about to collapse, the factory's security guard opened the door and saved her. After she recovered, she asked him, "Why did you come here? Checking the cold room isn't part of your job." The guard smiled gently and said, "I've been working here for 35 years. Every day, hundreds of workers pass by me. But you're the only one who greets me every morning and says goodbye every evening. This morning, you said hello as usual. But tonight, I didn't hear your goodbye. That felt wrong. So I came to check, and that's how I found you." He paused and said, "Your simple greetings remind me that I exist, that I'm a human being who matters. When I didn't hear your goodbye today, I knew something had happened." That story shows how even the smallest act, a greeting, a kind word, can deeply touch someone's life. It reminds us of the quiet power of gratitude and care for the people around us. Many studies have been done to measure happiness, and researchers found that money does affect happiness, but only to a point. When income is low, a bit more money truly improves one's sense of security and comfort. But once basic needs are met, more money adds little to happiness. Think about when we were children, we didn't have much, yet we laughed easily. As adults, we have more possessions, but somehow less joy. Perhaps the key isn't to keep adding more, but to remove what distracts us, what burdens us, what steals our presence. Happiness isn't something you chase. It's something that appears naturally. When your heart is light, your mind is clear, and your spirit is fully here in this moment. When I was a child, I was very poor. If someone gave me just one piece of candy, I would feel so happy. But today, if I receive the same candy, I feel nothing. Even a free meal or a free phone doesn't bring me much joy anymore. You see, as our lives change, the things that once made us happy don't always do so anymore. And studies have shown that after a certain point, earning more money doesn't make us any happier. When it comes to health, many people believe that if I'm healthy, I'll be happy. But according to a long-term study from Harvard, that's not always true. Some people with poor health still feel deeply happy, while others with strong bodies and perfect health feel empty inside. So, what really creates happiness? After more than 80 years of research, Harvard's conclusion was simple. Happiness is closely connected to relationships. When I come home and get a warm hug from my wife, or when my daughter runs to me, smiling and talking about her day, or when I'm at work and my colleagues appreciate what I do, those moments fill me with happiness. When I'm sick and my family cooks porridge and takes care of me, I feel loved, supported, and truly alive. Happiness, in the end, mostly comes from how we build and maintain our relationships. If someone always has conflicts, arguing with their spouse at home, fighting with colleagues at work, and even picking fights with strangers on the street, then no matter how rich that person is, can they really be happy? A person who maintains good relationships must first have love in their heart. When you have love, you see value in others. But when love is missing, your heart feels empty, like a hungry stomach searching for food. When you lack love, you reach out, demanding it. And when people don't give it to you, you start to blame them. Why don't they love me? That's how conflicts begin, especially in marriage. Many marital problems come from a lack of love and inner insecurity. To heal those problems, we must go back to the root. Our sense of self-worth. A person who grows up being loved, understood, and cared for will feel spiritually rich. And a spiritually rich person naturally wants to share love. Because love, at its core, is not about taking, it's about giving. But those who lack love often demand it. And people who only demand rarely have good relationships. On the other hand, those who know how to give are the ones who can build lasting connections. There's a story about a parrot and a crow. The parrot lived in a cage, enjoying a comfortable life. The crow lived freely in nature. The parrot envied the crow's freedom, while the crow envied the parrot's comfort. One day, they decided to switch lives. But the crow couldn't please the owner, and soon died in sadness. The parrot, unable to find food or survive in the wild, also died of hunger. Life offers many paths, but none are perfect. What suits you best is what's truly right for you. Don't blindly envy others. Their happiness may not fit your life. And don't compare your happiness with someone else's. Living your own life well and enjoying what you already have. That's the greatest happiness. There's another short story about a lock and a key. The lock complained to the key, "I have to guard the door every day, but the master likes you more. He takes you everywhere. I'm jealous." The key replied, "You don't know what it's like. I go out in the rain and sun every day. I'm tired too. Actually, I envy your quiet life at home." One day, the key wanted to rest and ran away. When the master came home and couldn't find the key, he became angry, smashed the lock, and threw it away. Later, he found the key and said, "The lock is broken now. There's no point keeping you." And he threw the key into the trash as well. In the trash, the lock and key met again and sighed. If only we had known how to appreciate each other before. In human relationships, the same truth applies. We depend on one another. Only when we trust, understand, and support each other, without jealousy, comparison, or resentment, can we truly grow and share success. So ask yourself, why is it that, even though we have food, comfort, and countless forms of entertainment, our happiness often feels so fragile? Perhaps it's because we've forgotten the simple truth. Happiness is not found in things, but in people. It's in love, in care, in connection. And when we nurture those bonds, we rediscover what it really means to live. Decades ago, life was much simpler. But somehow, our sense of happiness keeps fading. According to global mental health research, over 300 million people today suffer from depression. That's about 4.4% of the world's population. And here's something interesting. The rate of depression is actually higher in developed countries. So, what's happening? Why are people who have more money, comfort, and technology feeling less happy? I believe the biggest reason is that our comparison system is broken. Humans have a natural tendency to compare, but we rarely compare with our past self. Instead, we compare sideways with friends, colleagues, or people our age. Many of us feel unhappy, not because we lack happiness, but because we want to be happier than others. But here's the truth. The environment and people around us keep changing. And when our happiness depends on others, we lose control over it. Think about it. Some people say, "I'll be happy if my partner always treats me well." Or, "I'll be happy if my child gets into a top university." Or, "If my boss gives me a raise, I'll be so happy." But when your happiness relies on someone else, you've already given away your power. Because you can't control what others do. A Harvard study found that one of the biggest reasons people feel unhappy in relationships is because they expect too much from others. And when people don't meet those expectations, our emotional state collapses. But that's really foolish, isn't it? Your parents might treat you badly. Your lover might fall for someone else. Your old friends might drift away. Yes, all of that hurts. But you are still you. Your worth doesn't disappear. You can still earn money, travel the world, make new friends, and one day find a better partner. None of that depends on anyone else. Happiness isn't a state, it's a skill. Only when you develop the ability to feel happiness can you truly be happy. Have you noticed that as our standard of living increases, our happiness tends to decrease? Back in the 1960 seconds and 70 seconds, people were simple. Just having enough food and warm clothes was happiness. And that feeling was easy to reach. But today, we eat well, dress beautifully. And yet, we feel emptier than ever. I still remember as a child, I would count the days until the Lunar New Year. That was when I'd get new clothes and delicious food. And the excitement of waiting made the joy even greater. Many people from the baby boomer or Gen X generation probably share the same memory. But today, if someone gives you a new outfit or hands you a red envelope, do you still feel that same joy? Happiness seems to be drifting farther away. We receive more, we want more, yet we feel less satisfied. Driven by greed, competition, and money, many people fall into jealousy, anxiety, and constant pressure. People misunderstand happiness. They think, if I have money and success, I'll be happy. But that's wrong. When someone loses the ability to feel happiness, no matter how much they have, they won't enjoy any of it. That's why many wealthy people and celebrities take their own lives. Not because they lack money, health, or fame, but because they've lost the ability to feel happy. So, how can we strengthen our sense of happiness and our ability to feel it? It's actually simple. We must change the way we think. There's an ancient saying, life is a series of desires. When desires are not fulfilled, we suffer. When they are fulfilled, we become bored. That means people swing like a pendulum, from suffering to boredom. And satisfying your desires doesn't guarantee happiness. Many people live with what I call a drowning mindset. What does that mean? It's the feeling that you're always underwater, barely holding your breath, waiting for one thing to finally go right. You think, if I get into a good university, I'll be fine. If I find a good job, I'll be happy. If my business succeeds, I'll finally live well. But when you finally get there, you realize that was just the beginning of more challenges. Desires never end. And if you keep chasing them, you'll keep pushing happiness farther and farther into the future, to a place that might never come. Then life becomes just survival, sacrifice, exhaustion, and waiting. You hear people say, when I make enough money, I'll travel the world. But if you never make that money, does that mean your whole life has no meaning? Of course not. A philosopher once said, the greatest misfortune in life is to believe that happiness is a destination. In reality, it's the opposite. Happiness is a journey, not a goal. We must shift from a waiting mindset to an exploring mindset. Let me explain. Remember when you were a kid, and your teacher said, tomorrow, we're not having class, we're going on a field trip. The entire class would cheer with excitement. You went home, packed your bag, called your friends, and couldn't wait for the next day. The happiness began the moment you anticipated the trip. Even if the next day there was traffic, or you got tired from hiking, you were still happy. And when you reached the top of the mountain, ate lunch with your classmates, you felt even more fulfilled. Life is the same. The goal may be the mountaintop, but the joy exists throughout the climb. It's like playing a video game. Do you only enjoy it when you win? Of course not. The fun is in the entire process of playing. When you learn to adjust your mindset and the way you see the world, you'll rediscover your ability to feel happiness. And finally, live a life that's full, meaningful, and complete.